I had so many things I was planning to say. It's really difficult to try to follow that. I also, it's hard not to be moved by the voices of our young people when they're speaking their truth. Can we just give both of them a little love right here? Yeah. Whew, my goodness. So I'm supposed to have a thing planned out, and I do got some stuff. But man, that's all that soul just stirs me a little bit. Wow. So I think there's so many important themes that we can look at. I think there are lots of technical things that we can explore around project-based learning, the transmission of skills and knowledge. But I think there is a deeper opportunity, a more prime opportunity. And my hope today is to share something that might inspire you to maybe dig a little bit deeper and realize an opportunity that is before us today. Before I do that, I want to thank all of you for being here first. Being here is the first step. I also want to thank Bob for inviting me out and inviting us out. So thank you very much, Bob. Let's give it up for that brother right there. So how many of you are on Twitter? Oh, excellent. Very cool. Awesome. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do is, as we are kind of going through this today, and really not just this time together, but really throughout your experience at PBL World, interact. Don't just sit and consume. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. As you have these experiences yesterday, today, and tomorrow, capture the things that are questions for you. What sort of things are resonating with you? What are the things that you are finding that are important to you? And then share them with other people, okay? So I think where I would like to start is where I come from. Sometimes of these things, we can kind of get to all the technical stuff without understanding your historicity, where you come from, who are your peoples, how your mom and your dad live in you right now, how your grandfolks live in you, where your ancestors come from. So what I'm talking about here is a different kind of intellectuality. I'm talking about a deeper sense of your traditions, your history, your people, their struggles, their joys. So I want to share a little bit first before we talk about anything else. I come from a caravan of love, like the Isley brothers. This is my mom and my dad way back in the day, and that little chocolate drop right there. Yeah, long time ago. Every Sunday, we get together at Grandma's house. We eat together, pray together. My grandfather was the pastor of First Missionary Baptist Church in Gainesville, Florida. Hey, all right, yeah, brother, that's what you're talking about. And by the way, it's okay to interact with each other. Yeah, I know it feels kind of weird, but it's okay. Please do so. My grandmother, Lonnie Mae, she was the first lady of the church. She was proud, too. Sister, 30 years in the church. She would show up when you were sick or when your family was sick. She would bring you meals, take care of your house, clean for you, look after you, and then be in church every day, all day on Sunday. My folks grew up in the shadows of the Jim Crow South. My dad is on the right, kind of gangster, ain't he? And he had to be, because the rules, the laws, the beliefs, the institutions were not for him. He tells me this story. I just called him on Father's Day, and he was telling me this story of that there were places where white folks could eat, and places where non-white folks could eat. So him and his boys, they decided, they're going to walk into the place where they're not supposed to be. My dad's a G, straight up. They beat his ass pretty good. They break his ribs. He's 16 years old, he's 63, 64. They break his ribs on one side, bust his ribs up on the other side, set his hair on fire. He wakes up next to a dumpster. I think about the systems, the beliefs, the institutions, the laws, the people who power those institutions. Every single part of a system is perfectly designed to get what it results in. My dad could not follow the rules and just go with the flow. He had to break rules. And I'm kind of giving this to you as a bit of a precursor too. Because what you are attempting to do is bucking the system. My question to you is, where will you find your courage to do so? If you depend on this sort of false American narrative about pull yourself up by your bootstraps, I can do it all by myself, you might be sorely disappointed. This is hard work. What you are proposing to do is revolutionary in a lot of ways. People have lost their lives and a lot more because of it. I want to show you a film of possibility. It's about 3 minutes long.
In October of 2017, a group of 9th grade students from High Tech High traveled to Flagstaff, Arizona to plant cottonwood trees alongside scientists from Northern Arizona University. The mission was to figure out which trees could survive the effects of climate change due to their differences.
Being away from San Diego itself was a great experience. We didn't have to worry about checking our phones every 5 minutes or keeping up with responsibilities at school. This trip showed me how nature can bring out a whole different side in people. Just being able to stand on top of a canyon and have nothing but the sound of wind and beautiful scenery to focus on was worth the 9 hours in the car we spent to get there. I think this is a good reminder to look up every once in a while and notice the bigger and more important things around me.
Before the trip, my eyes had been closed to what beauty really was. This all changed when I saw the Grand Canyon at sunset, the beautiful stars in Flagstaff, and the beauty of the desert. Now I seek out the kind of natural beauty I witnessed in Arizona, hoping to someday feel that sense of astonishment that I felt there.
The trip provided all of us the chance of a lifetime. The views were breathtaking and the experience was unreal. Every tree planted, ounce of mud, and drop of sunlight at the crack of dawn seemed to create a new memory.
Something that was amazing from the trip was the sights we saw. It was incredible to see that kind of beauty up close and personal. I really enjoy seeing all the nature around me as it reminded me of why the earth means so much to me and why we should try to preserve it.
Climate change takes a huge impact on our world today. Despite the deniers in this world, we know that as inhabitants of the earth, it is up to us to make a change. If we don't, the consequences are devastating. This research project helped us get a better understanding of how climate change will affect us and how it does already.
So we're just starting to learn how to do this. And so what you're seeing is not only a restoration project, it's a science project in which we're trying to learn which plants will really do well in this environment. So there's a very much a genetic component to these studies, because some plants, for example, are genetically programmed to have deep root systems, and other plants are genetically programmed to have very shallow root systems. And so by planting both of these kinds of plants here, we can learn which ones actually do best.
And planting trees and actually helping the ecosystem.
What do you think of your first trip like this in high school?
Really, really fun. It was amazing.
We cherish natural beauty because it is one of the only things in the world that are original and sent to us by Earth. To me, beauty can only be found in a singularity and not something quantified. The Grand Canyon, for example, no other formations has comparable features that can undermine it. You get such a bigger feeling when you're in the presence of a one-of-a-kind rather than a one of many. You're in a space so perfectly designed for the life it creates because it hasn't yet caught up to the widespread malice men bring with them. We care for these places and find them so attractive because it's a gift of life from nature.
Waking up at 6:40 in the morning under the 95-degree sun was harsh. What made it even harder was the strenuous labor that came with it. While it was difficult to overcome these challenges, it was well worth it. Knowing that our labor contributed towards a study that will ultimately push humanity's knowledge of climate change made us feel an overwhelming sense of accomplishment.
But what I hope to do was to just give you an opportunity, instead of just telling you about a project, was to give you an opportunity to see a project experience. So everything that you saw, let me see if I can go back. Everything that you saw in that video was student created, student generated, student written. Students can tell when we are BSing them. We are dying to do real work. I was a sixth grade math and science teacher for 8 years, and I left academia at UC Riverside to work in a Title I low-income community because I just wanted to make a difference for the kids. When I got to that place, it was not about the kids. It was about test scores. It was about making the principal look good. It was about making the board look good, the district look good. We were really good at it. We would machine the kids until we got exactly what we wanted out of them. We would also machine the joy out of the worker, joy out of the student as a learner. We were given a curriculum. You're going to teach this, you're going to teach it this way, and you're going to teach it on this day. And we're going to have IABs, interim assessment benchmarks, every 3 weeks so we can have predictive analysis about how students are going to perform on the test. Holla at me. You know what I'm talking about? Now, some people are going to be upset about this. But this is the course of history. We look back all the way back to 1492. This is exactly what we have always faced when we are trying to make any sort of change. You're going to have enemies, you're going to have frenemies, and you're going to have friends. This is a reality for us. My thing keeps falling, doesn't it? Maybe I can just wrap it in here someplace. Make it easy. I got weird ears. You can throw it right here. That works, right? Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Love you. Yo, but seriously, right? Like anytime that we're trying to make real change, you're going to have people all across that spectrum, right? So what I would suggest is to think about, one, how do we do real work that matters? When I was a teacher, I had to leave my current school after 8 years because I was burned out. It was all about the test scores. I think we need to have a radical shift in power. We need to take the power back to the hands of our teachers. Those are probably teachers clapping. I know. I just want to remind you of Frederick Douglass. Power concedes nothing without demand. You can't ask folks to give you power. People who are without power, gosh, I'm reading a book right now called Stamped from the Beginning. It is the definitive history of racist ideas in America, written by Brother Kendra M. Ibram. It is meticulous and it is fantastic. There are lots of different lenses to look at the work. Fundamental to what we are trying to propose is the relationship of power. Throughout our history, there have been people who have power, and they structure both the business, economic, political, and social situation to advantage themselves and to disadvantage others and to separate those others too. You don't have to look far back. You can go back to Bacon's Rebellion. You can look throughout history. There are countless examples of how the people with the power disenfranchise, disadvantage those with power. Why am I talking about this? Because it's fundamental to your ability to do the work and to do the work in a way that is real. So when we talk about trying to do real work, let's talk about like student learning. When we walk through classrooms, what do we want to see students doing? In fact, back in the day, we used to want students who are compliant, who could follow basic directions, who could do reading, writing, arithmetic, etc. How would you design a school system in order to get that kind of behavior out of students? You might make it like what we see today. Lots of replication, lots of memorizing things. But if we're really trying to get after students who are able to work with other people to pursue important questions, how would we reorganize ourselves? And right now, we've got a situation where we're like quite literally flying on the plane and trying to rebuild it at the same time. And it is immensely difficult, and yes, it can be done. So this is where some people are going to be very upset, especially maybe the Project Management Institute and maybe the Buck Institute as well. It is not about the project. Yeah, I know. It's weird, right? So yes, I'm making one argument. Do real work. All of you, every single one of you, has an organization or two or three that you really care about. World Health Organization, Habitat for Humanity, Surfrider, on and on and on and on. Why aren't we working on real shit? Can I say that? Are we grown in here? Why aren't we working on real problems? Why are we doing simulations? Why are we working with fake problems? We've got an opportunity to do real work that matters with students alongside of them. When we do that, this is where the opportunity is. Yes, do real work. Second part of that is, how do we, as we know from old school Dewey, how do we unpack that experience? It's not enough just to do an awesome thing. We're not trade schools. We're not just trying to advance technical skills. I think we have a higher duty, a deeper obligation, a deeper moral obligation to connect people to themselves. You hear it in Zelma. How powerful is it to be 17 years old and can speak in your truth with authenticity? Have a sense of who you are, where you come from, what's important to you. The greatest gift we could ever give any young person is for them to find themselves, number one. Number 2 is help them find themselves in each other. help them find themselves in each other. This country right now is ravished by a lack of humanity, a callousness, an indifference, and the indifference is as insidious as the indifference itself. We have an opportunity to connect young people to themselves, to each other, and to their opportunity to pursue work that's important. John Dewey said, it's not just about the experience, but about reflection. Reflection on the experience. So it might sound like this. We worked on this thing. How do we meet the needs and the goals of the thing that we're working on? Yes, great. Next, how did we work as a group? Who was at the table? Who could we have pulled into this conversation with us? What voices were quiet? Who was too domineering? How might we interact to bring the genius out of the group? As an individual reflection, who am I within the group? What are the ways at which I see myself? What are the biases that I carry with me? How do I work in a group in a way that allows all of us to work better, to get the thing done? There are three different kinds of reflection there. There is product, content, etc. And there's the group reflection. What are our interpersonal relational agency, right? How do we work together? And then your individual work, who you are, what matters to you, and what are the forces. You know, it's old Pablo Freire stuff, pedagogy of the oppressed, right? He called it, I'm going to butcher this Brazilian, but it's Portuguese, but it's consciência caio, right? It's this idea of both awareness and action. How do we build awareness of the social, political, economic forces that shape us? And then how do we act in a way that is equitable, that brings up all boats, and not just yourself? So experience as text is a big deal. I want to make sure I give credit to the National Equity Project for this little map. I think beyond equity is about liberation. We have been, as teachers and as schools, oppressed, suppressed for a long time. It's this imperial, I don't know what the hell it is. It's like we, for some reason, we are okay with someone on high dictating to us what we do for our kids in our room. Those politicians have no idea about Jose, about any of the other kids in our rooms. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, yeah. And I know some of this is not going to sit well for some. You may not be able to see it. It reminds me of this story, and I'll finish up here in a sec. There's this story of these three fish. Old Buddhist monk told me this story. He says there's these two fish swimming in the water, two young fish. Two young fish are swimming in the water, and they come across this old fish who's been around a long time. The old fish says to the young fish, those two young fish, he says, "How's the water?" The two young fish say, "What water?" For some people, we are encased in catastrophes, and we can't even see it. I got cousins, I got brothers, I got folks who still live in the Jim Crow South. And there are lots of others who have been, they're like roses in the concrete, and the school system is just kind of layered over the top of them, and they never have an opportunity to grow, to realize that they are worthy of dignity already. Every single one of our babies, every single one of them. Every single child that comes to us is worthy of love, worthy of dignity, worthy of honor. We have an opportunity. Yes, we can transmit knowledge and skills, But there is some stuff that computer software can't do. That's that human stuff. That's that empathy work. That's that compassion work. That's the work that's about who you are, where you come from, how do you relate with other people, how do you learn from folks, how do you make an impact in the world. What you see on the board here is some work from the National Equity Project that are lenses around different forms of oppression that we can become more aware of and perhaps take action. Okay, these are my people. I love them. They look like normal people. But they do amazing work. Not everybody can be a teacher. People think just because you went to school, you can teach. Come on, man. We know better. We know better. This is deep heart work. Deep heart work. And we're not perfect at it. We got lots of holes. We got lots of problems. But there are three things that I think we carry deeply. One is the desegregation of people. The old school system was about more stratifying, separating students by age, by subject, by gifted. All our kids gifted. Y'all tripping. All these kids gifted. All these kids are gifted. They come to us full and whole. Our job is more like Michelangelo carving David from one single piece of marble. It's like, how do you strip away all the stuff so that beautiful thing can emerge? We pile too much on. They're already beautiful and whole already. How do we help them unearth their talent, their beauty, their genius, their taste? They already have it. We just need to create the conditions for them. I think the second thing that's an important piece of our desegregation is around subjects, hands and minds, and students and the world. We want them to be a part of the world. We want them to do real work in the context of a caring community. I think we are at an amazing time where we have an opportunity to build on the civil rights work that was before us. If you didn't know, this whole education racket, this is an expression of human and civil rights. It is social justice work in the first place and in the end. When we try to design projects, yes, we try to design badass projects that we care about. That's what we try to do. But it's like trying to attract bees to the honey. It is just so that they might be invested and have ownership in this project, so that we might have a deeper conversation about who we are, Socratically, like old school, Plato, dialogical conversations that give you scrutiny about who you are, a critical consciousness. Pablo Freire, he wrote 3 other books, by the way. One of them is A Pedagogy of Hope, A Pedagogy of Heart, and A Pedagogy of Critical Consciousness. Our young folks call it getting woke. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe? Okay. That's what we try to do. We struggle with it, but we feel like we're leaning in the right direction, bringing all kinds of folks together to do real work, and then having Socratic conversations all throughout. So we understand that you and I, we come from the same place. I see you, you see me. What do we want to build, bash, and beautify together, as my man Mike Strong might say. Now, I'm going to finish here. How are we doing on time? Yeah, I got it next. Okay, I'm going to stop here. I can talk. I apologize. I'll stop here, though, with this. Culture really matters. It doesn't matter how good your idea is. If you've got a great idea and you think of it like seeds in soil, you got some good seeds, you throw it on poor soil, no growth. You got to till that soil with love, compassion, joy, purpose. We need to give our teachers permission to do badass work. We need to give them protection from the enemies and the frenemies on the inside of the school and on the outside of the school too. And my last suggestion would be to make student work public. If you do important, beautiful work, make sure that there are plenty of opportunities for people to publicly see what students are doing. I've taken up more of your time than I should, and I am going to stop there. Thank you very much. Do badass work. Thank you.